Right, everyone. So to get started, the first thing we're going to do is click on the CoSpaces menu on the left for your once you've logged in, signed in, and we're going to create a brand new CoSpace. So we're going to click on the plus icon here, which allows us to create a new CoSpace. As you might recognize, there are three different types of CoSpaces, and we're just going to be working with 3D environment today. There are some templates to help you get started with various different styles of CoSpaces that just give you some framework to work towards. However, we're going to choose an empty scene because we want to create a brand new one. So click on the empty scene and just give it a minute to load. Now bear in mind that this CoSpace has nothing inside of it. It's a complete blank canvas. When you start off, the first thing you'll see is the camera lens or the camera viewpoint. This can be adjusted, and we might have a look at that later on in another tutorial. But to start with, it's important to recognize how we move about, how we can navigate this area. So a few handy tips. If you want to move forward and backwards, you can just click the space bar and then drag your mouse with the left click, and that will allow you to pan across the space. If you want to zoom in and out, it's simply using the mouse wheel or touchpad and then just scrolling up and down. And then lastly, if you want to actually change your view but stay in the same position, you just click and drag so you can actually orbit around the objects. Now, as we start to develop the model in more detail, you'll find that you can actually double-click an object, zoom into it, or position yourself above that object so that you can work on it more closely. One other thing to notice here is the snapping option at the top. Because you can see a grid at the bottom, it's useful to have the snap to grid option turned on. So when you place objects, they're actually lined up quite neatly. You can also have snap to items turned on, but that's usually an option I don't use purely because it'll end up having objects snapping to each other when you're trying to move them around, which can be a bit frustrating. So let's begin making our model.